Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions in the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions in the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions in the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions to the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions to the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions in the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome to Business Unstoppable. Here are a few reminders to maximize your viewing experience. Please make sure your devices are fully charged and/or plugged in, and that you have a stable internet connection for continuous viewing and ensure better video quality. If you're using a handheld device, please position them sideways to watch in landscape mode. Use your headsets or earphones for better audio quality and reduce external noise. Please mute yourselves and keep videos off during the plenary session. Participate in the Fireside Chat by sending in your questions in the chat box in this format: your name, the company you belong to, the name of the speaker your question is addressed to, and lastly, your question. Learn more about the topics discussed in the main plenary by joining your preferred breakout sessions after the program. We appreciate your feedback and comments, so please answer the feedback form by scanning the QR code, which will be shown after the session. Business Unstoppable is about to begin. A system to break through the physical barriers of the new normal. A set of digital tools to bridge through the virtual world. an efficient cloud to pass the limits of your network. Welcome to Business Unstoppable! Should you ask more from your network solutions? Well, why shouldn't you? When you must meet the evolving needs of your business. When you're faced with increased demands and challenges never encountered before. These are the questions you must ask to know if your network solution can truly support what your business needs now. Can your corporate network be more complex, yet still be manageable? Can it integrate diverse access points, yet still be secure? Can it provide automation, yet still allow hands-on control? Can it unite different network architectures without the need to rebuild everything? Can it enable you to control and manage your existing bandwidth instead of struggling to find more? Would it be capable of expanding your network while also increasing transparency and visibility? Can it go beyond data access and intelligently manage your connection? Is it possible for a multi-site business to not be a multi-cost network? Is it scalable, but simple and secure enough for your entire workforce? Ask these questions. Be curious. Challenge the status quo. Transform the way your network supports your multi-location business. Start asking now. And make your business unstoppable. Please welcome your host, CNN Philippines anchor, instructor, and broadcast journalist, Miss Ria Tanhuatco Trillo.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Business Unstoppable. I hope you're all well and safe because we have a very exciting morning ahead of us. Today, we're going to take a look at this new environment and how it's affected businesses across diverse industries. With the rise of health and safety concerns comes the urgent need to digitalize business operations. A simple example is the work from home setup, which suddenly turned companies into multi-location businesses. Brick and mortar stores setting up online counterparts, those in the service industry enabling home services. These sudden changes have increased the demand for an efficient and effective wide area network solution. More so for us to revisit our current network solution in our companies. It prompts us to check if there are enhancements necessary to cater to these demands of expansion and accessibility. And as it grows in complexity, is there a way to manage it easily? How can we integrate more diverse access points and yet be more secure? And does expanding your network also mean an increase in transparency and visibility? Of course, we should also take into consideration the users. Can your network be scalable but remain simple on-site for the workforce? And can it be fully automated yet still allow for more control? And what about the big question, cost efficiency? Can your multi-site business not mean a multi-cost network? So these are just some of the areas of concern that we want to shed light on. And hopefully by the end of today's session, you'll recognize what a really good network solution like Globe's expanded SD-WAN suite of services can do for your business. But before we proceed, we'd like to request everyone to make sure that your display name is the same as the one that you used when you registered for this event. So kindly also include your company name because we will need this later to verify your identity during the raffle. Yes, we do have a raffle at the end of the morning. So that is something to look forward to. But for now, let's get right into it and officially start our program with a few words from Globe's Chief Commercial Officer, Ms. Isa Cabrera.
Everyone, I'm thankful that you're able to join us here today at Business Unstoppable. Most of you might recall that back in 2018, Globe Business pioneered SD-WAN in the Philippines. a technology that simplifies the way businesses expand and manage their corporate networks across remote and multiple locations. In over 3 years of having SD-WAN, we've encountered several questions about how to equip a multi-site business operation with the right network solution. Businesses ask what network solution can be implemented easier, faster, and further across their branches. They ask how they can gather actionable insights from their network usage in different locations. Also, they ask how they can manage a multi-site network with multiple connectivity cost efficiently. These are only a few of the questions that SD-WAN was able to answer. We actually have a retail client who challenged us to migrate to SD-WAN in over 500 locations and to do it quickly. This is where the deployment speed, scalability, and agility of SD-WAN proved to be valuable. Some clients weren't satisfied with bandwidth monitoring alone. They also needed bandwidth management. They even wanted to monitor applications running per branch. This is where SD-WAN's dashboard provided deep visibility over branch networks, resulting in better business intelligence. We also have clients with a lot of legacy or technology investments who want to keep up but not start from scratch. SD-WAN was able to link up to traditional connectivity at an optimized cost. These are only some of the challenges we've resolved through SD-WAN. But we know that SD-WAN cannot be limited to these business cases only. With the market changing rapidly and emerging new connectivity demands, we at Globe Business expanded our SD-WAN portfolio to guide you toward a solution that's tailor-fit to your business needs. Fast deployment, business agility, enhanced visibility, security, and cloud acceleration. These are the business values that we'll be sharing with you in detail today. I would like to emphasize that our enhanced Globe SD-WAN now has added features such as advanced security and accelerated transition to the cloud. We envision that Globe SD-WAN's evolution will continue to keep pace with the evolution we need as our businesses become more connected to employees and customers now more than ever. So please join us as we ask each other questions today meant to challenge the expectations on our current network solutions and find the answers with us here in Globe Business. Because when we challenge ourselves to look for better solutions, that's when we truly grow in leaps and bounds across locations. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our speakers today. Ting Serafica, VP of Globe Network Technical Group, Carlos Gallego, CTO of Aruba, Kelly Ahuya, CEO of Versa Networks, and Saurabh Sandir, VP of Product Management of Nokia Nuage Networks, who will all be sharing with us today how Globe SD-WAN can prepare your corporate network's evolution to an intelligent network. I highly encourage all of you to participate and actively ask questions, especially during the panel discussion and the breakout sessions. Questions like, how will these be relevant to my enterprise, to my workforce, and to my customers' needs? Most importantly, ask questions like, how can I ask more of my network to help build my business better? So thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the day. Maraming salamat ulit.
Thank you, Ms. Isa Cabrera, for your empowering message. Certainly, these times require everyone to be able to evolve and adapt very quickly. So now our set of industry experts and business leaders are here to share their best practices and experiences with all of you, but we want you to be a part of the conversation as well. So please send your comments and questions to our chat box in this format, your name, your company, to whom your question is addressed, and your question. And since we have a number of topics and speakers this morning, let's begin by welcoming our first speaker, who will talk about Globe's very own network transformation enabled by SD-WAN. He lets us in on how Globe was able to thrive in this new reality and how other companies can do the same, especially those that had to switch to multi-location operations. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Globe Telecom's Vice President for Transport Division Network Technical Group, Mr. Constantine Ting Serafica.
So good morning, everyone. Okay, sure. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Ting Serafica from the Network Group of Globe. On behalf of Globe, thank you again for giving us this opportunity to share with you our solutions on the SD-WAN and how it plays a vital role in terms of that digital transformation journey which we're having right now. So basically, if you try to look at the challenges of an enterprise digital transformation, we see that as you build the network, build up multiple connections from the data center, going towards the branch, going towards the mobile users. From a Philippine setting, it becomes more complex and expensive. And likewise, in terms of that bandwidth and that high traffic, better quality and higher capacity is needed, as well as low latency. Now, from the pandemic period, which we've seen last year, actually this increase in data traffic using the indicator of the mobile data traffic, it's rising from 500 petabytes going to about 800 petabytes, which is about 60% in increase. So with this, it clamors for more network reliability and resiliency. We take note as well that the digital transformation journey in terms of that infrastructure needs modernization from that legacy network elements, and we need a seamless migration towards these applications. Likewise, with this multiple connection, there is a need for better and tighter security. Now, all of this plays into the process of that digital transformation that clamors for automation and analytics. So generally, let's start off so that we have a common reference. Let's start off the discussion by looking at the SD-WAN network architecture. So here we see the physical infrastructure from the aggregator, underlay, and the edge and the CPE. And likewise, the cloud, which is the another component, which is actually the central point of view, and that power to do network management systems for the orchestrator and the portal. Orchestrator being on the central point of view and the portal towards the users. Now, I'll be discussing later on the relevance of the underlay infrastructure, which is Globe has invested heavily in the past years, actually, to modernize it as well. So in this building blocks of components for SD-WAN, actually, the main thought is how do we connect the SD-WAN towards the cloud? And how do we give the power towards the users themselves to be able to do diagnostics and even analytics to be able to support their businesses? Okay, so with this analysis for the past 3 years on how to deploy SD-WAN, we have actually customized our solutions and services to be able to expand it into 4 product constructs. Of course, we have from the basic one, which you've seen, but interestingly, for the product portfolio for Connect, we have seen that even the Wi-Fi or LAN connection, our customers clamor that it be optimized and maximized in order to complement and improve their services from that view. That's why we developed that Connect product construct that looks at the Wi-Fi services, the portal, the multiple SSID, likewise unifying that WAN and LAN network devices in terms of that view. Now, of course, with this multiple connections, we need the product construct number 3, secure. We look at basic and advanced security software. We look at the cloud security as well in terms of that service chain, and looking at this universal CPE approach in terms of that security. In terms of the cloud, product construct number 4, we look at the CPE in the private and public cloud, VPN, AP for our users and devices as well. Now, what is interesting with this is we'd like to share with you how we develop this customization of solutions and services as well. So there are deployment considerations in what we're seeing right now. First of all is the significance of the underlay. So generally under this underlay column, we see that the infrastructure of Globe of laying in the wireless, the 4G frame, being targeted towards the business enterprise clients. And likewise, in terms of this massive deployment we're having right now for 5G, this complements that need actually to be able to connect this multi-site configuration. And likewise, we are deploying as well significant fiber footprint in terms of our GPON and even introducing next GPON services. We would like also that you maximize the MPLS. The MPLS and the SD-WAN can work hand in hand together. Actually, for MPLS, there are still some business critical setups which will be able to actually complement, while on the other hand, SD-WAN having that option to go to the internet and likewise the MPLS. Now, network KPIs is a very important component in setting this up and looking at the SLAs, which we're having right now, to be able to perform actually in terms of that high performance environments we're seeing. Integration and migration scenarios. It is not only a greenfield scenario which we're seeing right now, but as well, we're looking at basically brownfield scenarios. And we would like to optimize, as mentioned previously, under the product construct of Connect, that basically we need to study not only and optimize the SD-WAN coupled with the SD-LAN. Globe offers as well the managed services side, including the service assurance piece. And this vertical under integration and migration services is actually a very important piece in your consideration in your setting up of that digital infrastructure. Likewise, automation and virtualization is actually a clamor here. And it is actually using the power of a screen. You don't need to use a swivel chair to move from one terminal to the other anymore. You have automated assurance systems, which is a single pane of glass, and likewise provides you a dashboard, not only from a central point of view, but pushing it towards the user. We need to have a cloud strategy in terms of this automation and virtualization. Now, Globe has embarked not only in terms of this SD-WAN infrastructure, but there is an overarching umbrella that looks at the SDN and NFV infrastructure, which we have put in place. For the past 4 years, this has been actually complementing us. We do not only bandwidth monitoring, but as well offer now bandwidth calendaring and bandwidth on demand. Okay, one important vertical which we're looking at is the partnerships. We are leveraging on our SD-WAN technology partners, Versa, Aruba, and Nuage in their R&D efforts to set up this trend and really work this SD-WAN ecosystem to be able to transform digitally. Likewise, we have outsourced and derived efficiencies from our strategic partnerships with our cloud service providers, AWS, Google, and Azure. Now, looking at this network which we're having right now, let me give you some use cases in how we are doing things. Now, from the Connect point of view, we've seen this retail and payment configuration, as mentioned already, to not include only components of SD-WAN, but as well as the SD-LAN. In fact, we were asked to optimize the coverage of their Wi-Fi and likewise look at their usage in terms of that point of view, showing them the portal and in terms of their usage, in terms of access rights and all of these things has helped them grow their business. So the connection between the branch going to the data center is actually more seamless and more simple and rationalized with this point of sight. Now, in terms of another use case, which is actually used by financial services institution, there is this clamor to have a multi-layer security across the network. So from the edge, we deploy virtual firewalls, virtual CPEs, and likewise connecting it to the cloud. Security is enabled at different points based on requirements. And basically the features of this is captured via the orchestrator and the portal. Comparing the two configurations, you see that the enhancement is customized according to the particular need. So summing up my presentation, actually, let's take a look at what's next in terms of that SD-WAN roadmap. On the upper column, on the upper row, which you're seeing right now, there are actually some infrastructure developments we're seeing. Generally, SD-WAN is coupled now with 5G, and use cases on how to use that private and public underlay is actually there. VNF service chaining. Likewise, universal CPE for hosting 3P VNFs. And eventually, in that roadmap, the integration of 5G towards this appliance is also seen. From the lower row, we see an application roadmap, work from anywhere, SASE for public and private remote users, as well as cloud innovations, global SD-WAN and SD-WAN and IoT coupled together. So with this, guys, we look forward with partnering with you in transforming your company digitally. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Ting, for that super informative presentation. And I think this only shows just how much the pandemic has really affected businesses in many ways, and how SD-WAN can help them bounce back and turn things around by providing them with the right tools for digital transformation. So I'm sure Mr. Serafica's presentation made you more interested in SD-WAN and its many features, but you may still wonder how it could help you with your business specifically. So before we proceed with our fireside chat, I encourage everyone to send in their questions. So it's really simple. Just make use of the chat box, include your name, your company, your question, and who you would like to answer that question. So as you are doing that, let's now proceed with our actual fireside chat. So allow me please to welcome back Vice President, Transport Division Network Technical Group for Globe Telecom, Mr. Ting Serafica.
Hello guys, good morning.
And I'd like to call on other members of our very distinguished panel, starting with the Vice President of Product Management for Nuage Networks, Mr. Saurabh Sandir.
Good morning, folks. Very excited to be here. Good morning, folks.
And we will also be joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Versa Networks, Mr. Kelly Ahuja.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here and look forward to the conversation.
And last but not the least is the Chief Technology Officer, Asia Pacific and Japan for Aruba, Mr. Carlos Gomez Gallego.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here and looking forward to a great discussion.
And we would also like to welcome the Vice President for Product Development and Engineering for Globe Business, Mr. Francisco Cocoy Claraval, who will moderate today's fireside chat.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our panelists. Good morning to our guests online. Thank you, Ria, and good morning again. Welcome, members of the panel. We have a lot to discuss. As I was listening to Ting, I felt really old because I think I've come full circle. It's been more than 20 years since we launched Layer 3 MPLS in Globe. And now we're seeing SD-WAN, which is really, a much, better technology that would use MPLS as an underlay, as what Ting was mentioning, but really excited for this morning. So let me first start off with a question to the panelists. And as I was listening to Ting, I kept on thinking, typical companies in the Philippines, a lot of companies are sort of conservative, and when a technology works, pretty much it's hard to upgrade or replace, right? So what do you think are the common barriers to rapid adoption of new technologies like SD-WAN? And how can it set up the Philippines for global competitiveness? And maybe Ting, you may want to start to give your thoughts on this.
Yes, thanks, Kokoy. Yes, I feel old as well, but looking at SD1, we're rejuvenated and we look at the refreshed view of how we can do better in our network. So basically, the common barriers, as mentioned at the start of my presentation, are setting up that physical infrastructure in the meantime. I think Globe has done a pretty good work in terms of putting in various options to alternative of connecting it from the per site via the 4G and 5G network, as well as the fiber which we're having right now. Another part is what you were mentioning in terms of that modernization of your network. You need to maximize basically your old investments or the traditional legacy networks you're having and migrate it to that new platform of SD1. And likewise, if you try to analyze it, it's how you adopt it to your process. And in that mindset, Globe can actually help in terms of addressing these challenges or these barriers, as you speak.
Thanks, Ting. Carlos, any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think, it was a very good comment to say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And, we all know that change is hard sometimes. But I think one of the approaches that we recommend to customers as well is don't try and change everything in one go. Maybe pick a couple of branches where you want to start off and you can test the solution, you can test the user experience, you can test, how you work with your different links, be it, reusing MPLS in a smarter way or LTE or broadband internet. So, again, change is hard, but we do need to modernize to stay competitive. So my advice would be, prove the concept in a real world environment, but just with a smaller number of branches potentially before you maybe go and and make wholesale changes.
How about Sir Rob?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and Ting make a fantastic point, and we can vouch for the investment Globe has made in the underlying infrastructure to support SD-WAN. But if I look at it from a SD-WAN technology provider perspective, I think sort of barriers that come into adoption are sort of twofold. One are organizational, the other are technical. But the organizational barriers, of course, that's commonplace when technology is undergoing a change and there's a desire to maintain status quo. But the unique thing about SD-WAN is that training and education can ease them dramatically and very quickly, because the power SD-WAN puts into its end users, and Globe is doing that, can quickly change the attitude and minds of all concerned by the vast majority of use cases it supports. Then there's technical barriers, and here it's about picking a platform that's designed from ground up for SD-WAN and is not relabeled from another technology to gain foothold in exploding market. I think that's critical, and this can otherwise it can lead to a curtailed set of use cases, scale, and network limitation. Again, it's relying on a MSP such as Globe can help you get around that as well.
And Kelly?
Thanks for the question. To me, it's really about multiple things when we talk to the customers. The first is that about an enterprise has an existing network and an existing deployment and an architecture. If they have an existing topology, security policies, and sort of the way that they do the business today. And for them to make that change is pretty, they're typically not very aggressive in making that change. So the ask typically for most enterprises that I engage with is about how can your solution fit into my existing environment? Do you support the basics of routing? Do you support the basics of the right things like multicast and V4 and V, all those types of things come up. And fundamentally, that's where, fitting into an existing environment, because no one's going to wake up one day and, snap their fingers and the network's going to be SD-WAN. It's going to happen in a slow and gradual migration, because we do deal with brownfield networks, as Mr. Ting said earlier. The second one is really about the impact on the operational side. The most hurdle that I find customers struggle with is letting go of the control that they have manually to letting the network make the decisions automatically. Because the whole fundamental about SD-WAN is a software-defined part, which is you program it, you set it, and you forget it, and let the network do what it does best, or the control and management do what it does best. And letting go of that control, changing the operational processes around network and security and around layer, underlay and overlay, All those things you have to rethink those. And that mindset, I think, is the other big barrier for enterprises who are looking to embrace SD-WAN. And that's something that we work with our partners like Globe every day, as well as our end user customers as well.
Yeah, totally agree, Kelly. I mean, you made a beautiful point on control. And as more of these technologies come into play, and not just in networking, but if you look at everything that's happening in the communications technology space, cloud is a classic example, right? So, but pretty good. Thank you for the thoughts. Let's be more specific and talk about. We have a lot of customers today that are current MPLS customers of Globe. Maybe to Ting, what's your recommendation on how SD-WAN can help them boost multi-site connections?
Yeah, good question on this, Kokoy. Basically, this point of using MPLS, it should not be a drastic changeover or transitioning towards SD-WAN. They can work hand in hand together. As you've seen from the configuration, which I've shown in my use cases, the MPLS actually becomes an underlay option for you. And that maximizes the investment which you have put in. And likewise, in terms of that transitioning, what you'll need to do is to plan how your brownfield scenario moving towards a greenfield scenario, meaning for your existing sites, you may use in the meantime MPLS, but for your expansion sites, it can work hand in hand already with an SD-WAN point of view. And you try to scan this layout in terms of that multi-connection you're having right now, and then host it towards the cloud. And basically this overview or end-to-end view, holistic view, provides you with the strategy on how you can also digitally transform.
Yeah, thanks, Ting. We have a question from from our guests, from Mr. Arvin Kubakub. I hope I got it right, of Cloud Staff. Can you give some examples of advantages your customers will benefit from if we were to do SD-WAN with Globe, rather than doing it in-house? What a beautiful question here. It's a classic question of why let Globe do it for you than me doing it myself? Maybe Ting, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks so much, Arvin, for the question. Actually, if you try to look at the approach of Globe, it is an end-to-end view from the cloud going towards the actual users themselves. And in this view, Globe has an advantage because it sees all the components in terms of that maximizing of that investment. Naturally, Globe has the setup to be able to maintain that kind of SD-WAN environment. And when you go to Globe, it is not only the SD-WAN piece, it's your entry to a lot of suite of other technologies we're having. 5G, likewise IoT, likewise as well in terms of that SDN and NFV. And it gives the power towards the user. And likewise, that relationship in terms of that headquarters side, it becomes more analytical, and as well, more automation is encouraged. As I have been saying, this stimulates and expedites being digitally transformed.
And maybe to add Ting, because Globe owns the underlying infra, from the actual cables and all the way to the data center POPs, and even hosts a lot of the major hyperscalers and the CDN providers, there is better end-to-end control that we can actually put together as a service, right? So if you were doing it by yourself, you would have to make sure that you work it out with your service providers when you're trying to fix something or trying to optimize something. I guess one advantage of having Globe do it is because we have visibility across all layers of the stack and have these relationships with all the partners that we can actually give the right SLAs for the right applications. And so let's move on. It has been said, not just in Ting's presentation, but if you look at all the SD-WAN documentation and marketing materials, that network visibility has been touted as one of the major advantages of SD-WAN. I'd like to get the view of the rest of the panel, what you think in terms of the value proposition of network visibility, and what are the business applications and advantages of using SD-WAN in an enterprise network. Maybe let's start with Kelly.
Sure, Mr. Koikos, thank you for that question. So absolutely, I think not just network visibility, but visibility in general is a great value proposition of any SD-WAN solution. Now, most traditional SD-WAN solution will only give you application level granularity and visibility. And that becomes really important for a company, say in the retail space. Why? Because when you're setting together an SD-WAN solution for the future for your retail stores, you need to identify which application is a point of sale traffic, or which one may be a non-point of sale traffic, for example. Which one may be a front office, maybe a customer experience application, versus a back office application or an inventory, so that you can kind of dynamically control depending upon the state of the underlay or the various underlays that you have. But not only that, a solution like ours gives you visibility into not just the application, but also users and devices. So we can actually say it's Mr. Ting, and he's listening to Spotify while he's at that retail store, and his traffic needs to be controlled to allow that point of sale traffic to go through. So it's really important for an enterprise to be able to get as much granularity, not just at the application level, but also at the user level and device level, because as we think about how we stretch this to not just IT, but even OT, we have to decide and figure out how do we converge those things into a single construct, which is sliced, almost in the concept that 5G brings in. How do you slice your overlay network into a slice for marketing or sales, or for engineering or front office or back office or wholesale and retail? There are many applications that enables. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yep, Kelly, that's a good point. I like the example of being able to, 20% of business applications maybe are relevant to the success of a business. And the magic, I think, is, yes, you know what's happening, but the ability to steer the right resources for the application for that particular customer or user at the back end automatically with the intelligence of the network is actually the magic behind it, because you can't do that with a traditional approach. I mean, you can, you need people monitoring stuff, but it is really what's the magic that's making it happen.
That's absolutely true. And, for many companies, YouTube may be a business application, but for other companies, YouTube may be a consumer application. It may be business critical for one versus non-business critical for the other. And you have to continue to adapt to basically meet the customer's needs.
Hey, Saurabh, what do you think?
No, absolutely. Look, Kelly answered it well in terms of the usefulness of visibility towards SD-WAN. I'll say from my experience working with providers, enterprises, when the first time folks notice SD-WAN, the aha moment for enterprises is really when they get insight into the applications as well as the network, which was earlier denied to them. All in all, this network visibility improves enterprise responsiveness for customers and partners. It makes the business secure. Security is another element that sort of derives itself from insight, because knowing who accesses what application, I mean, YouTube is business or is it a leisure application, depends on the organization, depends on the person as well. And being able to detect those anomalies in app behavior by utilizing a combination of big data and autonomous learning, that's what makes this visibility of around SD-WAN so much more than the baseline of application visibility and being able to do application level routing control, which our product offers and is offered through Globe. It's that data as a building block that comes by the way of network visibility. That's where the penny drops for most customers.
I think at the end of the day, you talk to a CEO, you talk to the CFO. At the end of the day, what matters is, how does this help my business? How do I become more agile as an organization? How can I get more revenue, optimize my operations? And so let me ask, Carlos, how do you think SD-WAN is able to enable business agility in the enterprise?
Look, I think it's the flexibility that provides, right? It's software defined, which means that you're able to more quickly more dynamically either program the network itself for new business cases, or as sort of Kelly mentioned, let the network do what it does best, right? You know, we spend a lot of R&D time and resource in terms of building out, you know, intelligent algorithms and ways to, you know, automate as much as possible. And, you know, the ability to really be able to do things. And, you know, over the past 12 months, there's been an incredible need for companies to, you know, retool and reconnect people and stand up a hospital clinic in the car park of a sporting stadium overnight and things like that. So by having these software defined, you know, processes, it means in some ways it's not just about connecting, you know, your branch to your headquarters, but in many ways it's about bringing the headquarters to your branch, right? And being able to, you know, have those same security controls, user experience controls, and really, you know, be able to adapt to a very changing environment. Again, which we've all been living through. So I think that the pace of innovation, the pace of ability to, you know, to stand up new services wherever the business may, you know, be going is one of the key advantages, you know, from that business agility perspective.
Hey, Ting, did you want to maybe give us some examples of how SD-WAN is enabling also business agility, maybe from the perspective of scalable SDN in the wide area network and in the data center, and some other networking aspects of it?
Yeah, good point on this, Kokoy. Actually, if you try to look at SD-WAN and comparing it to that umbrella which I was mentioning about SDN, it brings actually that real-time and faster decision-making in terms of deploying it in the network. So, say, for example, if you try to look at bandwidth calendaring or bandwidth on demand, and as well as that 5G infrastructure, which I was mentioning a while ago, the SD-WAN actually gives an opportunity to be able to access and maximize the existing infrastructure already in place. And to what the other speakers, the panelists, as we mentioned a while already, you need to transition that all together. But the power towards the user is more of really that side of the story, which is actually being enhanced here. And likewise, those use cases which I mentioned a while ago is seen there. One important piece, though, which I'd like to put in order to improve this SLA as well, is that analytic side, the automation piece, and integrating it in terms of your processes.
And I see some friends in the BPO industry as well as FSI in the audience. A very relevant use case for agility in your industries obviously is the ability to dynamically combine and allocate bandwidth as necessary, and the built-in redundancy. I mean, FSI definitely, as well as the BPO, most major enterprises require built-in redundancy, especially of major operations. And for those in the retail, we actually had a customer that was using SD-WAN for automation of simultaneous multi-branch actions. Pretty interesting. Oh, there is another question from our friends at Philippine Airlines from Wilson Go. Let me just read through the question. As a current partner of Globe, is the SD-WAN service agnostic? Will Globe's SD-WAN service provide quality of service SLA for non-MPLS connections? Ting, you wanna take a shot at this?
Yes, definitely. Globe's SD-WAN, the SD-WAN breakthrough actually is making it agnostic. It uses not only the internet, but also uses the MPLS as a part of the underlay. But generally, I think that's the best part of it, is that it uses these options in order to make the services sort of, you can connect anywhere, anytime. Now, in terms of the QoS and SLA, definitely, there's this SLA and QoS which you can configure across that, not only in the part of SD-WAN, but also in terms of the SDN side. If you try to correlate both sides in terms of that view. Now, I guess this solutioning in terms of the QoS, we'll need to strategize that. My only advice is to strategize that at the start and grow how you build that business in terms of that MPLS, going towards that SD-WAN infrastructure and define the QoS and SLA therefore.
What about can we get the the thoughts of our panelists as well? Maybe let's ask Rob.
Yeah, for sure. Look, the definition, as Ting was explaining, the value proposition of SD-WAN is exactly to support a service, a network service that's agnostic of the underlay. And therefore, when we talk about SLA, the SLA that matters with SD-WAN is your application SLA. And it's the user experience that you're deriving from the network. And the way you do it on MPLS, where you have hard SLAs that's provided by the transport, versus on non SLA specific links such as internet is different. And SD-WAN does it smartly by recognizing applications, running things like application aware routing, where let's say you have two internet links or internet and LTE, both of which don't have a predefined SLA, but by monitoring the application performance, you can switch between the two or even aggregate bandwidth across the two so that the end user SLA, the application SLA is preserved. And that's what Globe service does. And that's what SD-WAN as a whole provides to end enterprises.
Carlos, you want to add anything?
Yes, absolutely. So as has been discussed, I think the whole point of SD-WAN is that you're not tied to a particular, type of connectivity, and you're actually leveraging the best connectivity at that point in time for that particular application, right? Because that may change with, network congestion, availability, even availability to certain SaaS applications, right? You may need to route traffic through a different interface to get a better experience of Office 365 because of an outage, somewhere that's got nothing to do with you, but is an outage, in the broader sort of internet space. So yeah, the solutions from from Aruba that power the SD-WAN offerings are certainly agnostic to that. And again, the idea is to be able to have flexibility and leverage the best technology for that particular use case in that particular point in time, taking into consideration, all of those different attributes of time and cost and SLAs and those sorts of things. So yes, absolutely.
Some of the, I guess our audience today, maybe now thinking, look, this seems to be really, the way to go. The technology has been, can do a lot of things. It's been around for quite a while, meaning it's been tested. It's not like an experiment, right? So there's big adoption already. So maybe let me ask you, Kelly, of the implementations you've seen globally, what can you advise our customers in terms of ensuring or that an SD-WAN implementation becomes successful? So what are the pointers, practical pointers that you may want to share to make the shift to SD-WAN to be a successful one?
No, that's a great question. And really what I would guide the audience to do is to think about the end goal and the end objective, right? So often I find enterprises get fixated on, here's my current topology, and this is what I need to replicate. An example is in certain environments, an enterprise may be using a hub and spoke architecture to be able to connect their remote sites to a data center through, say, MPLS only, but then connectivity to the internet is provided through that data center. But really what the users are trying to do is get to applications and workloads in the cloud. And the on-ramp for many of those is probably best positioned to be closer to the site as opposed to being from the data center. So you've got to think about what your overall architecture and the overall strategy is, which is what Mr. Ting mentioned earlier, around doing things in the cloud, offering a managed offer which can actually do the design and implementation and integration for you. Because you want to have that long-term mindset, because this change that you make, this inflection point that you're going through, isn't going to be a short-term one. This is going to be a long-term decision that you're making, and it's going to live with you forever. And if you want to, the purpose behind SD-WAN is really to move away from a site-to-site network to really become a user-to-application network, right? And the purpose of the network is to be able to connect users to workloads or applications, no matter where they are and where the user is, but provide a secure and reliable connection, which gives the optimal application experience and SLA, as was mentioned earlier. So to do that, you've got to really kind of try it in the current mode, but really think about how you deploy it for the long run. And that transition, that inflection point is really important to get done early as you're going through the design phase, because then the deployment phase becomes much easier and faster.
That's pretty important, making sure that you do the homework first and prepare, not just go right into it without really proper planning. What about Saurabh? You want to add anything to some tips?
Yeah,
Successful
absolutely. On top of the points Kelly made, a few things. One is in terms of, this goes back to the question that was asked earlier in terms of whether you want to do SD-WAN in-house versus rely on an MSP. You got to realize what you want from SD-WAN is the ability as an enterprise to self-service the network, not essentially self-manage. And you want to go back to your core competence and where your business relies, which is probably not in managing multitude of networks. And that's where, you want to rely on an MSP to deliver the full power of SD-WAN to you. The second part is avoid lock-in, because SD-WAN is, as you know, as has been discussed, is much more than a connectivity automation platform. It includes security, it includes cloud on-ramps. There's a possibility of reaching out to 5G and edge clouds in the near term. And you want a solution that is extensible, that's future-proof, and does not claim to provide everything in a single box, but enable you to connect to best-in-breed, be it a security solution, be it a cloud solution. And finally, the SD-WAN, even though there is a name WAN in it, and this is what Kelly was alluding to as well, it needs to include cloud, mobility, and IoT endpoints. And that's again where you got to look at the scope of not just your use cases today, but where the puck is going to be tomorrow in terms of your use cases, and make sure that the design choices you make today accurately reflect your needs of tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Saurabh. I think we are at the tail end of our Fireside Chat. I have a question for Ting in terms of, there's one more question on regarding Globe's SD-WAN offering. How does it support network intelligence for a multi-site enterprise?
Okay, so again, a good question in terms of that advantages or breakthroughs of SD-WAN. So generally, when we try to look at the traditional way of doing things, the way we gathered network intelligence was a swivel chair approach. From a network management perspective, you shifted from one terminal to the other terminal, and you tried to consolidate it manually. There was some automation to it, but there are some really, let's say, long processes in terms of you making those informed decisions. Now, with SD-WAN, it is actually unified from the orchestrator point of view, and you can make those decisions faster. Likewise, it pushes from the portal point of view dashboards, which can be used by the user themselves to say, hey, this is how my network is doing right now. I see an increase in traffic. I need more bandwidth. I need to see this. Now, this intelligence, of course, is part of that digital infrastructure which we're looking into. And that type of infrastructure needs to have that long-term approach of setting up those single pane of glass in terms of the user, as well as in the controlled manner in terms of data centers or headquarters.
Thanks, Ting. We have a couple more coming from the audience. For Saurabh, Kelly, and Carlos, here's a nice question. How can SD-WAN address the stringent security requirements of different industries? So maybe Carlos.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So a couple of things, I guess, that we've discussed today. So when we talk about being able to have visibility on the applications so that we can, steer them in the right direction, give them the best quality of experience, those sorts of things, it also gives us visibility from a security perspective, right? So we're able to say, hey, hold on, this IoT device in my branch shouldn't be sending information or traffic to this server that is outside of my network, or to this, AWS tenant, or whatever that might be. So I think, being able to have that level of, not just visibility, but the ability to do enforcement, at the branch, is very, very powerful. In addition, what we can do is we can actually steer traffic, certain type of traffic that maybe is more sensitive, depending on the vertical and the regulatory environment. You can either steer traffic through your own headquarters security infrastructure, if you've made a big investment in security infrastructure in your headquarters or in your data center, or you can choose to connect to certain cloud security partners for additional, inspection. So, for example, maybe your guest and BYOD network, you might send off to have its traffic inspected by a cloud security provider, and maybe your IoT and employee network, you have go through your own personal security infrastructure inside your data center or your headquarters or whatever, in addition to the security that you've already done at the branch. So there's a couple of ideas on how you can leverage the security capabilities of an SD-WAN solution.
Kelly, care to add?
Yeah, so absolutely. In my view, I always say to customers that SD-WAN solution without security is like a hamburger without the beef, right? They go hand in hand and they have to be integrated. Why? Let me kind of take a minute to explain. The whole purpose about SD-WAN is to really kind of provide a direct on-ramp, which is closer to the edges, maybe the branches or the remote offices, to access or offload traffic that's destined to the internet. When you do that, you've got essentially what you're doing as an organization is extending the network perimeter, the internet perimeter that you have as an enterprise to many locations instead of a handful or one or two locations. When you do that, security has to be a thought that you have to put into place for every question around SD-WAN. And that is really important for you to go do, because even though if you use a cloud security, and by the way, cloud security is great. We have a cloud security offer as well. But for enterprises that are looking to use cloud security, please be aware that cloud security only protects traffic going to the internet, but you're opening up that perimeter at that branch for anyone to be able to come in. So you have to protect that perimeter. And to do that, you need a next-gen firewall. You need the right security capabilities. And unless that's integrated with your SD-WAN solution, your economics are going to go out of whack. So really important to make sure that your decision is not just about SD-WAN, but it's about secure SD-WAN.
That's pretty true. In Globe, we have this mantra in cybersecurity, and we call it secure the outcome, because cybersecurity is really securing your business outcome. So even if you've transitioned to cloud and maybe SD-WAN, if you didn't put the right security in place, that can all go to waste with a simple ransomware incident, right? So maybe, so Rob, let's shift a bit, because we've been talking about security. You can't help but talk about work from anywhere. Since the pandemic hit, companies shifted to work from anywhere, and those that were ready, they were able to adapt. What's your thoughts on SD-WAN enhancing the experience for work from home or work from anywhere, as they call it now?
Yeah, absolutely. This was one use case that we could not have guessed about, let's say, 18 months ago, but it's here and now. But the beauty of the SD-WAN platforms such as ours is their ability to cater to this use case. Essentially, when you're talking about work from anywhere, there are two aspects to it. One is home worker, where you are working from a fixed location. And with the right SD-WAN solution, that can be modeled as a branch of one. You need to have a CPE that indeed caters to that requirement and not for a large data center or headquarter site. So you need a stripped down CPE that provides all that functionality, provides Wi-Fi, provides the ability to connect over a multitude of home internet links, and thereby you can extend the same policy, compliance, rule set that you would apply to a worker that's in a physical branch to somebody working from home. That's number one. The number two part here, and which is somewhat sometimes missed, is around mobile users and mobile workers. Because when we say work from anywhere, people are not essentially working from their physical home environment where you can have a SD-WAN CPE and you can plonk it there. You also have people working through mobile links. And therefore, you need to have SD-WAN extend its policy to those mobile endpoints. And that's where, again, as part of Nokia at Nuage, we have devised a solution whereby, based on SIM-based identifiers, we can take mobile traffic, bring them to distributed servers, and apply policies in the same way as you would do to the same set of users if they were in a physical branch office. So net-net, absolutely crucial for SD-WAN to be catered to the use cases in light of the pandemic and also in light of workforce behavior going forward. And I believe the right SD-WAN platform, you're well suited to do so.
Okay, thanks, Saurabh. Sorry, guys, but my director is telling me that, look, we have to wrap up because we have some breakout sessions to go to. But let me wrap up with one more question. Oh, we have one from Dole, from Marvin Bandojo. I miss Dole. I was in your Polomolok facility 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. I hope everything's still doing well for Dole. But nice question here, and I'd address this to Ting. So Ting, the question from Marvin: how can Globe's SD-WAN improve SLA and network reliability in last mile areas such as Polomolok and all of the facilities of Dole and other enterprises with many branches outside of the metro?
Okay, it's actually the SD-WAN is one platform which we look at, but let me talk about the SLA reliability, which is enhanced by SD-WAN. One is it uses the internet, right? And that means I have several options. One, I can use on the last mile a wireless configuration using 4G or even 5G in terms of that view. I think we still have, we have now better coverage in terms of the Dole part in Polomolok, in terms of the 4G network, and upcoming is 5G. You have the option as well of putting in a wired configuration in terms of fiber to the home or fiber to the business configuration. And of course, the use of MPLS with the alternative or the option of using internet as your underlay. So this increases network reliability to reach a higher level of SLA. And in that point of view, you also have Globe's infrastructure in terms of maintaining it. I think this is a very important piece of that puzzle, that it is not only in the infrastructure side, but also in the organizational side to enhance its reliability. And as I've mentioned, we are now more proactive, more predictive, rather than reactive in handling this last mile issues if we do.
Yes, thank you, Ting. I said that was the last question, but this is really the last question. And this is for all the panelists. And maybe for the panelists, you can pick maybe one of the segments so that it doesn't, you don't have to duplicate. But the question is, can you share a use case in retail, finance, services, BPO, airlines, specific use cases for some of the industries I mentioned, or it could be other industries that you want to highlight that would make the case for why SD-WAN? So let me start off with Carlos, and maybe just name an industry, and this is the use case, and we go to the next panelist and another industry and name the use case.
Sure. A real estate or company with hundreds of locations around the country, and some of the networks were a little bit build your own network, where the various people in the organization had, not standardized on some technology in each of the branches, and they wanted to essentially reduce the operational cost, increase the visibility, and provide better service. And so they, consolidated on an Aruba-powered SD branch solution, which not only transformed the WAN, but also transformed the branch.
Nice one, Carlos. What about Kelly? What industry and what use case?
Well, let's go with, we're well known in financial, but let's go to retail. There's some very large retail organizations, including a drugstore of about 10,000 pharmacies and locations, including a retail chain, a corner grocery store and gas stations of about 13,000 that basically had the same use case. They wanted to offer guest Wi-Fi to the customers coming in, but also have Wi-Fi available for their own devices that they have inside the stores. They wanted to be able to prioritize point of sale applications as well as lottery sales applications that were running over their network to be able to be prioritized over the other applications. So they were able to do that. From a security standpoint, they needed to deploy security at the store for certain things, but then back in the network for other things as well. And one of those retailers had an interesting application, which is they needed some applications to be in a hub and spoke environment going to the data center, but the other applications, because they were still using voice, had to go from store to store, because it was a retailer that needed inventory checks at other stores to see, hey, do you have this or do you have that? So all those requirements required identification of applications, users, security and network capability, and different topologies with management of those different application owners looking at their segment of the network. So that was a great example of what we've been able to do with many of those types of customers.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. And Saurabh?
Yeah, for sure. Look, we have SD-WAN implementations in Nuage across verticals, but for the sake of variety, let me pick healthcare, since my fellow panelists picked the other two. And with healthcare, we have a few interesting examples, one in North America, another in Asia. And the one in North America, we have a very large medical facility with over 700 hospitals, as well as clinics that are connected with SD-WAN. And the reason to go with SD-WAN and what SD-WAN has enabled them to do is to have data integrity and privacy, which is of paramount importance to them. And they are able to do compliance reports, and they are able to have secure and verifiable connection to applications, not just in the private data center, but also in the public cloud, which they are hosting. Now, as a bonus, I'll add an element to this use case, which tries to work from home. Now, these healthcare facilities, or this particular one, has radiologists working from home, looking at high definition X-ray images. And this precedes even the whole pandemic environment. And typically, what they would have to do in case of an emergency, drive it into a hospital, and then have to look at that high-def X-ray image to pass their judgment on the particular case. But now, by giving sort of SD-WAN appliances to each of these radiologists, and by ensuring sort of the application-aware experience that we discussed earlier, the same healthcare facility has been able to extend the turnaround time or reduce the turnaround time in several of these emergencies by getting the X-ray judgments much sooner than they would earlier.
Really good use cases, guys. Again, thank you, Ting, Carlos, Kelly, Saurabh. And I think our audience really learned a lot from our fireside chat. Although I don't have a, I'm not in a fireplace, but it's a fireside chat. But I want to thank our audience for listening in, and I want to thank you guys because you've been with Globe from many years now, and probably some of you I've been talking to way before. But we still have a lot of questions, but the questions have been marked by our back-end team, answering them and also taking notes, make sure that they get back to you. But don't worry, we have a breakout session right after this fireside chat. And for now, let me turn you over back to Ria. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that again, Mr. Kokoy, Claraval, and all the members of our panel. I'm so glad that you guys got through so many of the questions. I'm sure the audience appreciated that. And as Mr. Claraval mentioned, we will be having breakout sessions after the end of the program. So do stay with us until the end. After all, you have these wonderful, experienced experts whose brains you can pick. So do stay tuned for the breakout rooms. So to wrap up this morning's program, please welcome Vice President and Product Management and Marketing for Globe Business, Mr. Raymond Poligarfio.
Thank you, Ria. First, allow me to thank the members of our panel this morning, Kokoy, Ting, our partners, Saurabh, Kelly, and Carlos. Thank you for that very insightful discussion and those compelling thoughts that you've shared in response to our audience questions. I'm pretty sure that engaging Fireside Chat has piqued everyone's curiosity about how much more we can get from our network. And as the visionary Hollywood producer and writer Brian Grazer did once say, curiosity, asking questions isn't just a way of understanding the world, it's a way of changing it. And with that, let me thank you also, our valued partners, all of you who are here with us this morning, not just for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, but more importantly, for being brave to ask us the toughest of questions so we can provide you with the right answers to help you chart the future of your business, especially in these challenging and exciting times. As Isa Cabrera Guevara mentioned earlier in her opening, new challenges have created new demands for connectivity and networks, which made it imperative for us to restart growth and change the way we do business. With this, you've asked the toughest question. Is there a more intelligent network solution for your multi-location business? And we've answered it with SD-WAN. A while ago, Ting and the panelists discussed how SD-WAN has revolutionized connectivity, how valuable it has been in responding and in solving new business challenges. How SD-WAN, being a plug-and-play solution with full management capabilities, supports automation and cost-effective deployments, which translates to faster rollouts and time to market. How SD-WAN also increases control and agility, allowing your operations to adapt easier to dynamic business requirements. For instance, if you have multiple public and private internet connections, SD-WAN can flexibly adapt your existing network as and when needed. Now, you've also heard how SD-WAN gives you end-to-end visibility among your branches, helping you get insights into what's going on in your network environment in real time. And to help you make sense and act on these insights, our end-to-end IT managed services are also here in case your company needs additional IT support and expertise. You've heard earlier how SD-WAN gives you additional protection from security breaches and threats, even with a multiple branch or multiple location setup across on-prem networks, virtual networks, private or public, or even hybrid architecture. Now, Isa also mentioned earlier how SD-WAN has helped customers from different industries in the 3 years that we have been offering this solution. And now we have brought in new capabilities for SD-WAN that can support a wider mix of industries, be it manufacturing, retail, finance, healthcare, many others. In manufacturing, for example, a multi-site business can better sustain connectivity of multiple devices, like drones or surveillance cameras, to the branch and head offices. This would result in operational efficiency and better network visibility. In retail branches, you can add redundancy connections to business-critical sites. And if you want to deploy retail mobile apps to your customers, you can even manage traffic loads with SD-WAN, allowing you to easily adopt your changing customers' demands in a very timely manner. Now, these are just a few examples of what drive the need for a new WAN model for organizations to thrive. And we, at Globe Business, are ready to thrive forward with you in this current business climate where digitization is more than a must. We will deliver the technology that better supports your multi-location business. And the more exciting news is, with our enhanced suite of Globe SD-WAN solutions, we are geared up to revolutionize networks to empower your business better. So what's next for us? Well, we have invited partners who will give you a deeper understanding of Globe's SD-WAN's enhanced solutions and how relevant they are to your industry. They are globally recognized as experts in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for WAN Edge. In fact, they've already spoken earlier. They were part of the panel. They are Nokia, Nuage Networks, Aruba, and Versa Networks. So I invite you to learn more from them by joining the breakout sessions that come after this plenary. As you go into these breakout sessions, I urge you to ask the tough questions, to challenge your current technology, to go beyond what your network needs today, and imagine how your network can be more ready for tomorrow, so that together we can find the right answers to meet the evolving demands of today and, more importantly, of the future. Again, thank you for spending this morning with us, and we do hope you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy finding the answers. Maraming salamat. Magandang umaga po.
Thank you for that, Mr. Poligarfio, for that very insightful message. And there's no question, we really live in a time that businesses have to invest and fully utilize the solutions that are available to them in order to cope with the new normal and shape the future that they want. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you to please check or change your display names to the name you used during the registration for the event. So your name on your Zoom display should be the same as the name you used when you registered. You can also include your company name if possible, because now it is time to give away some prizes. As I mentioned earlier, we will have a raffle. Today's 4 lucky winners will receive a brand new Apple Watch Series 6. So I hope you guys are excited about that. I'm very excited for you. So once again, we'll be raffling off 4 units of Apple Watch Series 6. So do change your display names right now so that we can easily validate if you are present today. Yes, you need to be present on the Zoom call in order to claim your prize, okay? So while you're doing that, we'd like to inform everyone as well that if you've decided to participate in a different breakout room from the one that you indicated in the registration form, that's fine, not to worry, because you can join the breakout room of your choice by simply selecting your preference on the choices that we've provided. So for breakout room 1, that will be with Mr. Rob Sandir, and he's going to be talking about how to simplify branch connectivity with SD-WAN Basic. If you want to go to breakout room 2, that is with Mr. Kelly Ahuja, and he will be talking about enabling safe remote operations with SD-WAN secure in cloud. And lastly, breakout room 3 with Mr. Carlos Gomez Gallego. That will be about optimizing your wide area network with SD-WAN Connect. So if you do need any assistance with this on transferring, you can chat with the SD-WAN representative under the list of participants. So they'll be ready to help. For now, let's take a little breather and raffle off those amazing Apple Watches. I hope you guys are ready because we are about to start. We have a digital randomizer, and let's go. Randomizer, go. Who was our first winner? All right, our first winner is Wilmar Kundangan. Congratulations, Wilmar. Now, our staff is just going to check if Wilmar is indeed right here so that he can claim his prize. Wilmar is from... Okay, we need to do another one because he's actually not here. Okay, let's do this again for our first winner. Randomizer, go. Alan Bacalyan. Alan Bacalyan, if you are here, congratulations on winning your Apple Watch. He is from SMS Global Medical Solutions. All right, so we just need to... Oh, he's not here either. Oh, missing on all these opportunities. Okay, randomizer, go. Right, and Jason Roque. Yay, Jason Roque is here on the Zoom. Jason, congratulations from GHL System Philippines. Okay, now let's give away our second Apple Watch Series 6. Randomizer, go. Amalia Manuel. Congratulations, Amalia Manuel. If you are present, you are not. You're gonna miss out on the Apple Watch Series 6. Okay, randomizer, go. Let's try this again. Okay, Jeffrey Bauson from Sykes Asia. Jeffrey Bauson. We are checking if he is actually with us right now so we can award him the second Apple Watch. No, he is not. Okay, we're going to keep going till we find the ones who are here. Guys, please make sure that your name displays which is the name on the bottom left of your window, is the same name you registered with. Otherwise, we won't be able to find you, and we will think that you are not actually here, right? And that Apple Watch might have to go to me instead. Okay, here we go. Winner number 2. Jonathan Castillo from PowerMax Center. Is Jonathan with us here? He's here. Amazing. Congratulations, Jonathan Castillo. Good for you. Okay, that's 2 down, 2 more to go. Winner number 3, randomizer, go. Okay, our winner is Fab Kalanok. I hope I said that correctly, from Producers Savings. Fab is not here. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Randomizer, go. Okay, Roy Taala of AP Motors, and he is here. Congratulations, Roy. Good for you. So here it is. We are down to our last winner, our 4th Apple Watch. Randomizer, go. Very exciting stuff. Okay, Ben Woon. I hope I said that correctly. Yay, congratulations, Ben. Fantastic. Aren't you glad you came today? Okay, so there you have it, our 4 lucky winners of Apple Watch Series 6. To all of our winners, a Globe business representative will be in touch with you on how you can claim your prizes. So congratulations once again. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our main plenary for this morning, but you can continue to discuss with the members of our panel in their respective breakout rooms. Again, if you're interested to learn more about simplifying branch connectivity with SD-WAN Basic, you can join Mr. Sohrab Sandir from Nuage Networks. That is breakout room 1. Breakout room 1. Breakout room 2 will be headed by Mr. Kelly Ahuja from Versa Networks, and he'll discuss how to enable safe remote operations with SD-WAN Secure and Cloud. And the last breakout room, which is breakout room 3, is for those who want to listen to Mr. Carlos Gomez Gallego from Aruba about optimizing your wide area network with SD-WAN connection. So if you've selected a different room during the registration, please don't hesitate to join the one that you actually prefer. For today, all you need to do is click on the breakout rooms button in your meeting controls, and the list of rooms is indicated there. Simply click join next to the breakout room that you wish to participate in. Also, please, before you leave the main conference, we do ask you to accomplish the feedback form, which you can access either by scanning the QR code that is on your screens right now, or by clicking the list posted in the chat box, which should be there right about now as well. So thank you for that. And once again, thank you for joining us this morning for Business Unstoppable, Reinvent a Borderless Business. I'm Ria Tanwat Cotrillo. Please head on over to the breakout rooms of your choice and enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.